So for my Teach and Learn project, I did chapter 11, which was crime, and I focused on child abuse. And the advocacy group that I chose for this was the National Children's Advocacy Center, the NCAC, which this group focuses on how they can help people dealing with child abuse or going through it, and it just offers a lot of services to the victims and other parts like that. Some stats that I found for this advocacy group was that 60% of child abuse victims were usually female and 40% were male. And then also 30%, 36% of victims between the ages 0 to 6 were like the ones that were going through that. So that's pretty crazy because that's really young. Some other really cool things that the NCAC has to offer is that they have 20,000 therapy services, they have about 17,000 crisis intervention services, 11,000 medical evaluations, and 10,000 forensic specialized interviews, which is really important. Um, some other big things that they have is that they have over 4,000 local programs and services like around the world, which is really important. And then they also have 12,000 child abuse professionals trained locally and internationally. So that's a really big help. The NCAC has a lot of allies, and they have about 610 donors that like support the NCAC, and that was from like 2020, so there's probably even more now. But some major organizations that help the NCAC is the United Way program, which they're a really big program known, especially in the United States. The National Children's Alliance, the States Combined Campaign, the CFC, the Healthy Families America, the BBB, and the Children's Trust Fund, all supporting them. They also have a lot of help throughout their community because they try to get people involved and have a lot of people volunteer and help for the group to just help the victims that go through child abuse. Some opponents of the NCAC would probably be the public defenders defending the child abusers that actually do it because they're the ones that are trying to get them less sentences and stuff like that. So they can like uh, just not have to go to jail or pay fines or stuff like that, which really hurts the NCAC because if they don't get a long sentence or whatever, they could just come back and do it again because a lot of the punishments that I found were just big fines and a little bit of time of jail depending on how bad the case is because the first offense, which is child neglect, the fines can go up to 2,000 and 1 year in jail. The next is like an actual child abuse, and that's 6,000 and state prison for up to 6 years. And then less if you molest a child, that's like 3 to 8 years in a state prison. But as a lawyer, they can find their way and try to cut down that, which is really sad to see. Another big enemy are the actual abusers themselves because they're the ones that are making the NCAC a thing, and they're the ones just abusing the child. But what I really looked into is the like reasons for the child abuser, why they do it, and a big thing that I found was that uh, like if the child abuser had like a past of being abused or seeing it, there's a lot more intent for them to do it to their own child, which is sad to see, but they just didn't get the right parenting. And then also like another reason is like if the abuser feels like the life's unfair, unjust, random, or they just feel like hopeless, it can like bring them to life or like bring meaning to their life if they abuse, which is like something that I thought was really interesting and that like really sucks because that like shouldn't give you meaning to life, like hurting children, which is really sad. But and also another study I found was that like mothers that commit child abuse, they tend to be higher amounts of them than fathers, which I thought was really interesting. But it sometimes happens when a single mother is just alone and they don't have and the husband left, and that's when it happens. which really sucks. And there's also what I found, like some famous actors like Michael Jackson has been accused of child abuse, and even R. Kelly, both artists that are definitely really known. And then lastly, for the sociological theory, I thought it was a functionalist theory because that connects to child abuse the most, because functionalist view can help us comprehend like the issue of child abuse, because they can see the both good and bad. And there's two different parts I found. One being the perspective of like the business and the economy, and then the perspective was families and like a smaller unit in society. So they're both focusing on similar things, but in child abuse cases, when they have failed, like the child is placing all their trust in their guardian of a child, and battering and endangering the child to enter society is hurtful to them, and they will not receive like the same educational opportunities. And then for the economical view, it is like having child cases of abuse, like there are like more jobs available across the world, and like also child protective services are like two of the largest businesses in the field who help like children and victims who may be at risk given their like guardian or like living circumstances. So they do play like a big part in that, and that's it.